Hello, welcome. Today is Tuesday evening, 26th of May. Well, I continue a little bit. I add some things according to my last video about. I was telling about trauma-based mind control, and it sounded maybe somehow nice to go somewhere else, and but it was not nice. It was not God's will. It was an awful crime, I would say, and I had luck. I survived these things because but there were others who didn't survive this, and you may ask yourself. Where is this place? How high? And I can tell you it is not so high. Airplanes are even higher. It is not somewhere in outer space or on the other corner of the universe or what, wherever it is, all around us. I would say it is a second world, a parallel world. There are entities around us, and sometimes they can also visit us. They go into people, try to tell something. Well, some people can listen what they say. I mean, angels or entities, however you want to call them. Some people are not able to hear, and the interesting thing is that women are much better connected to this force, because they can open their heart better, because we male people are more trained to harden ourselves. I think it is a worldwide problem that men are expected to be hard, to be strong, and that they punish this little boy inside them. And maybe some men were upset when sometimes I had to cry, and maybe some men are upset about this, but let me tell you, don't let anybody tell you you are not allowed to cry. A man is a man who do the right thing in the right moment. When it is time to fight, he fight. I know it's not always easy to be a man in the right moment, and also allows himself to cry when his heart is telling him this. And I know it is an awful education we men have, especially in the military. I never served in an army. I had a civil service when I was young, when I was 20. I heard that there's a lot of drill and shouting, and this is a system of violence. They hurt your soul, and then you are not allowed to raise your hand against your officer or whatever does this violence to you. And then one day you got your chance. You can all turn your hate to the outside, towards the enemy. They told you who the enemy is, and then you shoot them, or however. This is a system of violence, and you can also say it's a slight system of trauma-based mind control. Um, this, I would call it, is a circle of violence. We all are exposed to this circle of violence. When we are born, we are innocent. Then there are other people who pushing us, and we got this hate in our hearts. And if God or Jesus not intervene, your heart can become like a stone. You can't feel anything. No mercy with yourself, with a little boy inside you. No mercy to the other people around you, and this can be very dangerous. It is the entrance for the devil, and it is a planned system. It's a violent system. We are exposed, and well, we have to see how it works, and I will tell you some things, some more things um, about my father, my social father. Um, well, it's quite interesting. He was a soft boy. He was a gently boy, I would say, but they tortured him in the Hitler Jugend. He was born in 1933, few months after the takeover of Adolf Hitler. Well, and he had to go to the Hitler Jugend. There was no choice. Every boy had to go. And when the war was over, he was 12. So I think he joined the Hitler Jugend when he was 8, 9 or 10, and he was there. And well, he told me awful things. They played games. They had to go to the forest, and for a hound, English pilot came down with yeah, he was in the forest, and they told these boys, catch this pilot. He's your enemy, and this is very well. It's very sad because before the Second World War, my hometown Hamburg was well connected to England. There's no other town in Germany that has such a connection. It is because the people of England, after the Roman Empire, there were a big migration of Anglos that was in the south of Hamburg. In the north of Hamburg, there were this um, well, the Angles, well, the Anglos, they were in the north of Hamburg, and the Saxons were in the south. Now it is Lower Saxony, but the area of Hamburg, these tribes or these people went to the west coast of England, and there are also some similarities in this old northern language. Platt, they say also ik have, I have. So there are some similarities in the language with the old language, but now the Platt is dying out. When I was a young boy, I heard this old man talking this language sometimes. Well, but this old people are died already, so this language disappeared. Well, but well, it was also because we had both a Protestant church, the Church of England, and the church in North Germany was both Protestant, and there were many scouts coming from England, visiting north of Germany, especially Hamburg, and there were scouts from Germany went to England, and there were also partner churches, and my uncles, the brothers of my father, after the Second World War, there were a partner church, and they said to my father's mother, so, well, no matter if the Germans bombed us or bombed London, or if Hitler bombed London first, you know, he first bombed London, and then the English people said, well, in their point of view, it was right to defend their country. Then they bombed Germany, and well, it was an awful war. My father told me a lot of it. But no matter if the Germans bombed our country, we believe in Jesus Christ, that the love of Jesus Christ is stronger than this bombs of the devil, Adolf Hitler. So they helped the mother of my father out. Well, he had I think he had 5 brothers. Well, yes, and there was a lot of fame after the war. There was nothing enough to eat, and they had big troubles. And well, they said, well, we take 2 of your sons, bring them to England for 2 years, that you get out of the mess. And I think it was Dorset, it's in the south of London, and they were in this church, and they had a guest family, and they 2 boys, they lived there for 2 years. Well, this is how it should be, helping the poor, helping the helpless, um, going, um, walking with Jesus Christ, no matter what the devil does. And it was such a great mercy to help this family, the family of my father, help them out of trouble. Well, there was a lot of trouble, and there were also street fights. You know, they hadn't enough to eat, they were hungry, and sometimes my father, he went with his brothers into a house that was bombed down. Sometimes there was a kitchen, and sometimes they found something in this ruin. It was debris. They were kind of pirates. There were also other boys had the same idea, looking for food in this debris, this bombed down houses without there are some kitchens in it. Well, and they had arms. They had sticks with I don't know with copper in it, and they beat the other boys. And there was no law. There was um, free space. There was no police. They had other things to do, and these boys they were fighting against each other, street gangs, you can say. And the young women, they went to the English soldiers and said, "Well, I love you." They weren't good in English. But the oldest brother of my father, he told his younger brothers, "Well, I was on the black market again, and there came this young women from Hamburg, and they said, 'I love you,' but the English soldiers may understand what they want to offer. So, well, and this is not how Christian people should meet. They should meet as humans and love each other, marry, having children, and not doing it like dogs at the next corner for some bread or some chocolate." But this was the time, and I'm a little bit concerned that if we would have a shutdown maybe several years, that that we will come into poverty like after the Second World War, and it may happen that that there will happen things that we don't want. We can't imagine, but I have all these stories about this time in my head because my father told me such a lot stories about Second World War, and also the time after the war was horrible time. You know, the economy was broken down, and they were so poor. They were looking for food, and they did everything for food. Yeah, we can't imagine anymore. But in this moment, it is not so bad like in this time after the war. But maybe if they continue like this, the shutdown maybe few years, when every economy is down, then I think it could happen. I mean, we don't want this, and we should fight for a start that our economy start again. We have also a problem of inflation. You know, the world production now is maybe 20% less, but they're printing a lot of money, so the money is nothing worth anymore, and we're getting poorer and poorer. So this value of our money is declining. I think we will be poor, but the main problem is to keep our civilization alive, because if this civilization breaks down, there will never be this civilization again. We will go into slavery. There will be camps. Maybe our daughters will sold out to China. Well, they have not enough women. I think you know this. maybe there will be warlords. Well, I don't want to think about this. I think we have a chance to fight this still, and well, um, talking about the cycle of violence, um, uh, talking about how this violence work inside people. Well, I can remember that my father hated the Hitlerjugend. He was not. He was soft, and there was no mercy for the softer boys or for this people who were weak. No mercy. It was a total system of the Antichrist. No forgiveness with the weak ones, and he had to hold a chair like this and going down on his knees, and he had to hold it 20 minutes. Of course, he was not able, and then because he was not able to do this, they took the belt. His boss, a boy, was just 2 or 3 years older than him. Well, he got a lot of hits with the belt, and well, but he was not allowed to raise his hands fist against the upper ranges in this Hitlerjugend. And then they told them the Jews are the problem, and they give him this poison in this heart, and he stayed a Jew hater for the rest of his life. Well, I really can say this, and I can't go into detail, of course. It was rather nasty that he showed me this side because he knew that I was a Jew, or I am a Jew. He knew this, and of course I was not his son, and sometimes he gave me his hate about this in the anti-Semitic way. That was rather nasty. But will not tell you what he said. Well, he got this poison into this heart, and this is how this works. We are all in this system of violence, and then they built up an enemy for us. In the Second World War, it was the English Empire we had to fight, and they all created this hate between these Protestant nations in order that they destroy each other. And well, I will now tell you something about this Alberto Rivera comic. It is from the 70s. It is made by, or the author, all is true. It is Alberto Rivera. Sorry, I have a lack of speak now. Alberto Rivera, he's from Spain, or he was from Spain. He's dead already. I show you a picture. Well, I load this up. I scanned all these comics into a file, and then I made a YouTube film of these comics. It's all in my channel. I would recommend you to see this, but today, because I made some films about German fascism, and maybe some people are angry, maybe they say, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about, or well, I know it quite well, because Alberto Rivera says the truth, and he was in the Jesuit order. He was a Jesuit priest, and well, when I just talked about the system of violence, here's a scene. It is the first number. Here you see a scene. He is in a bed at night, and the priest's coming. Want to abuse him. He don't want it, and he gave this priest attempting his tried to touch him, and he gave him the fist, and then there was a big trouble, and you see this young boys when they go into a seminar to become Catholic priests, they are often harassed and abused by the older priests, and they are not allowed to defend themselves because it is against the will of God. They are told so, and it is such a violent system that brings so much hate into their heart. And Alberto Rivera had luck because he had access to a Bible. He says that he at night he were under his I don't know, he was in a bed and he had a light, and he read the Bible secretly. He was not allowed to read the Bible, but he did it, and he was seeing so many things in the Bible that he saw this this difference between the Bible, the Word of God, and the truth, what Jesus did and all these things, and he saw the difference between this and the system of the Roman Catholic Church, and someday he decided to go out of this system. Well, and he said it is a system of violence. They treat their people hard, the young boys, when they become a priest, and if Jesus or God is not intervening, they stay in this system of violence. And he was destroying true believing Christians in Spain. He did it together with this Franco system. The policemen under Franco, they went into these churches and bring these Christians into jail. That was in the 60s and 70s in this Franco area. Well, it is quite interesting, but I want to put stress on the third number. It is about fascism, and it is so interesting that I have to tell you a little bit about this. You don't hear this in a school because they don't want us that we know about this, and sometimes I remember, well, okay, that's another subject. I remember sometimes I was arguing with my teacher, and sometimes I got an answer like, well, you know, there's not only black and white, there are also colors between, and you are thinking too simple, and it was sometimes going like this. So you know, the world is complicated, and you little boy can't understand all, and you have to accept what is in this book here. And but these things Alberto Rivera writes here, I was never expecting that the truth is so simple, or I don't know how to say, it is so it is so. The first time I heard this, I thought, well, it can't be true. It can't be so simple that the Roman Catholic Church tries to destroy the Reformation, the Protestant nations, and all this wars, the First World War, the Second World War, also the French Empire, Napoleon was also made, or the French Revolution was also made by the Jesuit order, the secret organization of the Vatican. And I thought that, well, this is too simple, it can't be. And then, but I read and I saw all these videos from these two pastors from the United States, and then, I listened to what they said, and also Alberto Rivera, he was inside the system, and I found out that they are right. It is true, and all what I experienced, this evil blackmailing of my father to make him a state ruler. For me, he is a normal man. Well, I never met him. I know him only from TV. For me, he's a human being. I don't care what he did as a politician. I don't care. For me, he's a human, and but it is so sad what they did with him, what they did with me. Well, he died as a broken man. His soul was destroyed. He was a big smoker before the Lord. He had to smoke a lot because he couldn't stand this. It was too much for one man, and it is such a big power that can destroy people. Well, lucky me, I'm not destroyed at this moment, and I will use my time to tell you some things, make more videos. Well, well, to ask you a question, it is normally I block all my films to block the comment. You know this function that people can put some meanings and commentaries, but because I'm tired of this trolls and all the stupids, so that I waste my time to counter this shit they write in. But I think this time I will make it open, and I want to ask you. I was telling you about this control, about giving shocks. Joseph Mengele developed it, but in fact the Jesuit order did it a few hundred years ago. I heard that also in old Babylon, the elite, the kings of Babylon, did it to their own children, to well, for several reasons. This method is old, but there's also another method. I described it with the Bible. You know, in this Revelation, there was a sentence in the chapter 12, St. John, and he said that the beast with the 7 heads, which is Rome, taking his power from the red dragon. Well, and there are other methods to control our rulers, and well, I must confess I can't say all. It is also dangerous, and I can't do this to you because it can really damage your soul seriously, and I will maybe speak with the Bible, or so that you understand, not to go into detail, but I saw also this. Okay, you give me answer. Yes, tell us about this. I will tell when they start to shoot. If they start to shoot on demonstrators, I will tell all what I know. But I think in this time, well, it's better to give you some hope and speak about some things that might support your fight. And well, I go now. Well, give me an answer. I asking the Lord, but the answer is not so clear. I think maybe he says, well, better wait, wait. Well, I need you. Maybe it is also that he wants that I live a little bit longer, and well, I don't think that they give me a bullet, but well, they tried with other methods. I can fight in this moment. Well, but I would be interested if you want to hear this method, and well, I give you a slide. You know, there are several state rulers. They look very sad, and here I have a state ruler. It is Wilhelm II, and you see this. You see a kind of sadness in his face. His soul is hurted. Well, this is only one example. You see also a picture of Adolf Hitler. Well, he doesn't look like a ruler, isn't it? He looks somehow ridiculous, sad, broken, um, trained by the Jesuits. And well, there's also another picture. The ruler of the French Empire, Napoleon. You see this sadness. If you see close, you can see that also this ruler has a broken soul. And another funny picture, it is not funny, but it is connected with a story. You see here, it is Adolf Hitler in on his how you say it in English, a mountain villa. In German it's Berghof. It is in the south of Bavaria, the German Alps you see here in the background. And he was there many times, also during the war times. And well, they said he was a lazy man. He slept long, and then the first thing he did, he went out with his German Shepherd. He had a German Shepherd dog. Well, he went out. Well, and then he came back, and then, well, let's start with the briefing now. What is today? Okay, Stalingrad. Well, okay, and Russian war, and well, it was kind of strange that he lived in this beautiful place while other soldiers died worldwide. And well, the funny thing on this picture is my father. He was, you know, when this bombs came, this bombing, the American bombers came on the day to Hamburg, and then the English bomber in the nights, and then they decided to bring out the children to save their lives. And my father was sent to Bavaria, in the middle of Bavaria. This it was a place called Hemau, is somewhere in the middle of Bavaria, and they had a free on Sunday, and well, and he decided, I want to visit my Führer. I say Führer because you can't say Ü. Normally we say Führer, but I say Führer because I make it for the English and American people. And well, okay, and he wanted to visit him. He was in this valley, and he climbed up by his own feet. He was only 10 at this time. He was a young, small boy, and I think he hitchhiked through Bavaria on Sunday, and he reached this valley you see here in the background of Adolf Hitler. And yeah, he wanted to see his beloved Führer, and he climbed up, but then there came a big shower, and he had to return because he was wet like a dog, he said to me. And he wanted to see his Führer. And this is quite amazing. You know, he was tortured by the Hitlerjugend, and he suffered a lot under this regime, fascist regime. And well, but interesting thing is, if you are exposed to strong violence, there comes a point when you love your suppressor. It is quite amazing. It is the same in the military. They give you a lot of pain and hate in your heart, and then after a while you love this man who do this to you. It's interesting phenomenon. So he loved his Führer, but he was not able to reach this mountain when he was 10, and he had to return back to his place in the middle of Bavaria to reach it before it went dark. Well, but he liked Bavaria also. There was a lot of snow, and you know, they went down the hill with I don't know the name on where they sit on it, and then they went down into the valley, all these mountains. he enjoyed a lot, because for a boy from Hamburg it is quite amazing seeing all these mountains with snow. You know, in Hamburg we don't have much snow. It's near by the sea, and we have more rain in the winter in Hamburg. Well, okay, but it is interesting that somebody can love such a dictator that brings so much pain over himself. But the connection was somehow because they made Adolf Hitler looking like a lamp, because they had a special treaty for him to destroy his soul. And actually, yeah, he was a normal man. He loved children. Sometimes he made fun. This is amazing, isn't it? It is. We saw this very seldom. A Führer that makes jokes in front of a camera. Normally we don't see this, but I can say you he was a normal human being, and they transformed him into this hateful person that was able to send people into war. Some people, well, I tell you another time more. I want to say something that goes more into detail, but well, okay, I tell you, it is said that he got arousal, a sexual arousal when he saw people dying. Well, but I will tell you another time. I'm waiting for your answers. And well, going back to Alberto Rivera, he was telling interesting things about the Third Reich. He was taught by Cardinal Bea. It is a Roman Catholic cardinal from Germany. He looks like this under my finger. Well, and he taught Alberto Rivera all the things about the Third Reich. He said that the Vatican created both systems, the fascist system and the Soviet system, you see here. Well, he telling all these things. It's quite interesting. The Pope always hated the Russians because the Orthodox Church was opposing the Roman Catholic Church for 1,000 years. It was a real obstacle, and the Soviet Union was created to make a big war between Germany and this Soviet Union, and all these massacres were planned. The SS and the German SS and the Russian Secret Service, they met in Rome, and they were orchestrating these massacres, the tank battle of Kursk, the slaughter of Stalingrad, you know, this Sixth Army of Germany, this capitulation of Paulus, the general, the German general Paulus, and all this slaughter between the Russian and the German young man. It was all planned. It was all planned to destroy many young men, and well, this well, it's going on. Here it is explained how the family of the Tsar was, there was a kill squad. They went into this, well, the revolution was made by the Bolsheviks, you know, Lenin in St. Petersburg, and then the Tsar family were in Yekaterinburg, and then there came a killing squad and shoot them all, and then the bodies were buried somewhere, and Alberto Rivera said the Vatican has three front lines before the Second World War. It was Italy, Spain and Germany, and the first fascistic groups was the movement of the black shirts. It was in Italy. They beating the communists in Milano and in Turin. You know, there was a labor movement, communist labor movement, and well, the black shirts were haunting these workers and beating them. The same in Germany, the SA, and in Spain there was Francesco Franco. All three dictators were created, supported by the Vatican. First Benito Mussolini in Italy, and then Francesco Franco in Spain, and then Adolf Hitler in Germany, and the German Air Force helped Francesco Franco in Guernica. They bombed this marketplace. All these innocent people, they died. Why? Because they were for the Spain Republic, and the Pope didn't want this republic. And here it is also said what was the reason for the Spanish Civil War. Alberto Rivera says they found, there were, well, maybe it is in another number, but I try to find, just give me a second. Well, I don't know which number it is, but Alberto Rivera says they had there were a place where the priest lives, and there were a place where the nuns lived, and they were not allowed to have, they were not allowed to marry, to have intercourse, and they had secret places under the earth, and when they gave birth, the nuns, the babies were suffocated. They killed them immediately because it was illegal that nuns have children. So the people found out in Spain, and they were so upset that they said, well, now we want to have a republic. We don't want this old system. And the Pope sent the Arabs into Spain, the Muslims, like he did before. Well, it is all said in this comics, and I load it also up in my channel. You can read this, and well, going back to Germany, interesting is this man von Papen. You know, I made a vaccine march, and there's also a picture von Papen. He was a conservative politician in the Weimar Republic, and when Hitler came to power, he said, Van Papen boasted to the world, the Third Reich is the first power which not only recognizes but puts into practice the high principles of the papacy. It was written Völkischer Beobachter, January 14, 1934. And well, you know, first they were playing Democrats, and well, maybe Hitler is not the right man, well, we don't know. And then when he was in power, they said, yes, now we have the papacy in power, and they showed their true face. And well, there were also other men, you know, Himmler, Adolf Hitler called Himmler the Jesuit, our Ignazio de Loyola, he called Himmler. Um, it is here. Well, funny picture, isn't it? Hitler and Himmler as friends. Well, the pictures are somehow funny, um, but it was not funny, especially for the Jews. They were killed, and Alberto Rivera says also that Pius the 11th, he died on 10th of February 1939. It was another mysterious death. Well, after Pius the 11th, there came Pius the 12th, and here is a picture when Hitler and Pius the 12th were meeting. And if you look close, you can see who's the boss and who's the servant. You can see this. You can see the fear of Adolf Hitler. This was the real boss, and this was a white pope, and behind the white pope at this time there was Vladimir Ledochowski, that was this man, and he was responsible for the whole Holocaust. He planted the death camps in Poland, his home country. He was from Poland. His brother was a general in the First World War, and the Black Pope planted, the Vatican planted. The German, they used the war machine of Germany. Of course, they built up all this industry, well, the people loved Adolf Hitler because they, after the world economic crisis in '29, there was a lot of poverty. The people had nothing to eat, and then somebody give them labor and promise them a future, and they feel it. Well, now it's going up again, and well, of course they adored Adolf Hitler, and well, some people say, well, Adolf Hitler, he wrote Mein Kampf, so the people knew what he was planning. Well, not everybody read it, and if you are hungry and then somebody gives you something to eat, gives you labor, well, you don't think twice, isn't it? And then they say the Jewish people are guilty of this world economic crisis. In fact, it was the Vatican. He did this Wall Street crash, and but they blamed the Jews for it, and they also the family of Rothschild. They started here in Frankfurt, in my hometown. It was a small family. They had no own money, but they were clever, and they went into this banking system, and the papacy chose them. If something goes wrong, then, well, there's a huge conspiracy in the world. They leading all the banks, they having the money. Well, of course, the Jewish people, they had to deal with money. They were expelled from all other professions. It was in the Middle Age that they couldn't become a carpenter or a baker, or, you know, all these professions. They had systems to block, to keep the Jews out, so they had to survive, and they went into trade and money business. So this is the reason why Jewish people are more connected with money than maybe other people. And the Pope, well, the Pope knew this, and sometimes there were pogroms. that the Jews were blamed. When every time there was a crisis, well, the Jews did it. And this Goebbels, I showed in my film the vaccine march. He was such an evil speaker. The speeches are forbidden today because he has such a demagogic power. When he spoke about the Jews, he went up with his voice, the Jews, so that the people get really in a kind of killing mode, and he he tempted the German people and blamed the Jews that they are responsible for this mess during the world economic crisis, and the people believed it because they repeated all the times the lies. There were evil films like Der ewige Jude, or another bad movie was it was I don't know, Jud Süß, yeah, that was a propaganda movie that the Jewish people have a world conspiracy, and the German people were dumb enough to believe it, so they prepared the German people for the Holocaust, but the killing was in Poland, not in Germany. Well, I think it's somehow enough for this video. Well, okay. I load up all these numbers. Another interesting number is the sixth number. What I want to mention is, in Germany you can also have in German language, but only number 1 and 2. The third part about German fascism is not available. Well, it's no wonder. They don't want us to know the truth. Another interesting number, it's number 6. It's about how the Vatican created the Islam, this hateful religion, and that was created to destroy the Jewish people in Jerusalem, and also the Christians in Jerusalem and in North Africa. They took Spain for a long time. They occupied Spain, and well, that was the first experiment. So that was a kind of experiment to mix two people, the Arabs people with the old people of Spain, to create a mixed race. It was kind of experiments for the Vatican, and they're still doing it today. I don't have to say this. You know the plans of Soros, but they always take this people to hide themselves. They take Bill Gates for the vaccine program, Soros for this race mixing program in Europe and America, and taking all these people and hiding behind them, that nobody sees what is all behind these people. And well, I can say we can fight. Well, I think we must fight against Bill Gates, the vaccine program, but I think it's not enough. They will, as long as this beast with the 7 heads is in power, they will always find a man. They have a lot of money, gold, and Alberto Rivera explains also how it worked. When the Roman Empire was down, so the Caesar Constantine, he called himself, well, I'm a Christ, and he was the first pope, you know. The Caesar Constantine was the first pope in history, and the Roman Empire continued, where there were some fights, and well, you know, and but there's it is a continuing line. We are still in the Iron Age, what is described, which is described in the book of Daniel. We are in the Iron Age now, and they pray to the Iron God, say that the Pope is a god, nobody else, and there's no other god. Well, how did it work? As it is described in the Revelation, the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. The 10 horns are the kings. They reign us with their kings, with their state rulers. The first state ruler was Pipin. He was a king of Francia. You know, there was a big empire in the north of the Alps. It was from the Atlantic over to this river Elbe. So it was a huge kingdom, and the center was Aachen. It was in the near of the Rhine, river Rhine. So that was the center of this kingdom, and the son Charlemagne, we say Karl der Große, the son of Pius, and the priest from Rome, they went to Charlemagne and said, well, you know, your father promised that we own Italy. They had a document, but it was not a real document, it was a fake document. So they started with deception, with a fraud. It was a big fraud, and this Charlemagne believed that they give them a lot of gold. They had all this gold from the Roman Empire in the Vatican. You know, the Romans, they took all this gold from the Mediterranean area. All these countries were plundered by the Roman Empire, and all this gold was in the Vatican, and so they had such a lot of money that the kings, and they promised the kings, well, we will increase your power. If you go with us, we will give you gold, power, and all the state rulers, also Prussia, you know, this big German empire founded in 1871. You know, the royal family of Hohenzollern, that it was a family, a royal family in Germany. They worked for the Pope, and this man brought the German people into the First World War according to the commands of the Vatican. Well, this is how this infiltration worked. Well, I hear the woman saying, well, was demonstrating in Magdeburg. Well, Magdeburg, it's a quite good example, because in this 30 years old war, the Magdeburg was totally destroyed by this Austrian troop that was an alliance of the Vatican. The House of Habsburg was always worked always together with the Vatican. So they destroyed the Protestant north of Germany. Magdeburg was destroyed. Where the woman was saying, what is going on here? Well, maybe I could explain a little bit that some people understand how long it is going on. Well, it started 1545, the Council of Trent, when the papacy realized that they can't beat the Protestant nations with wars. So there was a concile, and then Ignazio di Loyola got his chance. We can build up a secret organization to infiltrate these Protestant nations, and they did until today. And well, this is the reason why we are in such a mess. And well, you have to learn who our enemy is, how he works. Well, I will tell you some more, and well, I'm waiting for your answers. That's it for today. Good luck for the next demonstrations on Saturday, and God bless you, and see you next video.